Okay, everybody should have an instruction packet that looks like this, and this is a part of a class set, so you need to be sure to turn it in before the end of class. Make sure you don't take it home. The instructions are pretty clear. If you follow along, you can read it and figure out what to do on your own, but I'm going to go over the steps with you to make sure you understand what you're going to do. Every student should have a packet. That'll make it easier so you don't have to share. If you look inside the packet, it goes over all these different traits that your child will have. The object of today is that you are going to gather a bunch of traits together on your chart. Make sure everyone has this chart. If everyone doesn't have this chart right now, pause the video and pass them out. Then restart the video. Okay, so this is the chart, and these are the traits you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking for the face shape, the type of chin, skin color, hair type. You can read all these different traits, and then you're going to draw the face of your child. Now, ideally, your child should be, someone old enough to where you can actually see the traits that they need to see, like curly hair, or dimples, things like that. It's hard to draw babies, but if you want to try to draw a young baby, we do have a few examples of young children faces, like this one. This was supposed to be a toddler. But then a lot of people drew more adult faces, as you can see from the board. It's up to you. The sex is one of the first things you're going to figure out, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Everyone should be in pairs at this point. Okay, if you're not in pairs, pause the video and then come back to the video when everyone is in pairs. Okay, if you're not all in pairs and there's an extra person, then that extra person can work with a group of 2 to make a group of 3. Or if they'd rather work on their own, they can do all the work themselves, and that means they would have to be finding the genes for dad and for mom. It really doesn't matter if you're both boys or both girls or whatever. I know we're not going to be perfect in every class to have the right number of boys and girls. It doesn't matter. Y'all are just taking turns flipping the coin for either parent. It really doesn't matter who flips the coin for who. Okay, so now that you've kind of looked at the booklet and you see all the different traits you're going to have, now we can start figuring out the traits. If you follow the booklet, after you pair up into parents, it says that you're going to flip a coin for each trait. It says heads will be your capital letter and tails will be your small letter. In other words, heads is going to be the dominant trait and tails is going to be the recessive trait. Okay, so that means that for each trait, I'm going to take a coin and I'm going to flip the coin, and depending on how it lands, that will tell me if I have dominant or recessive. So if I flip the coin and it is heads, then I have a dominant trait. But if I flip the coin, there it is, flip the coin and it's tails, then I'm going to have the recessive trait. Okay? Recessive is the little letter and dominant is the big letter, capital letter. Okay, the first thing it says you're going to do is flip for the head trait, the head shape. But actually, that's not accurate, is it? It looks like we're going to flip for sex first. Sex means whether your baby is going to be a boy or a girl, or your kid. I guess it's really a kid, not a baby. Determine the sex and the name of the child. Only the father flips the coin because the father determines the baby's sex. That's true, because only the father has a Y. If a girl flips the coin, then all she can make are X's anyways, so it's up to the guy to flip for the sex. So let's say the guy flips, and it's tails. Tails is boys. If you flip and get heads, let's just say, then heads would be girl. Okay, so you're going to write that down. So let's say I flipped the coin and I got sex and it's a boy. So I would write that here. Okay, now your names go up here. So student 1, whoever you are, and student 2. So write the name of both you and your partner there, please, okay? And then you might want to name your child later after you see what it looks like. So for instance, once you see your child, you might say, oh, that looks like a Karen or whatever, you know. So you might want to change the name later. So I'd wait on the name if I were you. Okay? All right, so now we're going to do face shape. And notice it tells you what letter to use. Right there, it says for face shape, we're going to use R. Okay? Now, that's because round faces are dominant. So when you draw your baby, and you're not going to draw your kid until the end of the activity, you're going to get a round face if you have a round trait, and you will get a square face if you have a square trait. Okay, so it really depends on what you get is what kind of face you're going to draw your kid on. Okay. All right, so let's do the first one and look at the chart, and it says face shape is the first one. So Dad and Mom are both going to flip coins. This goes faster if you both have your own coin. Dad and Mom, if you both have your own coin, then you can each flip at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, let's flip. Okay, Dad got tails and Mom got tails. So we look at the letters. We're going to use R. Okay, so tails would be little r from Dad, and Mom, she also had a little r, so you would put that there. And then when the sperm, because remember this is the sperm and this is the egg, when the sperm and the egg come together, they're going to make a kid, so you're going to put the letters together then. So I had a little r and a little r for face shape. So now I look at my packet. What does that look like? Well, little r is going to be a square-shaped face. So for phenotype, which is the physical trait, I'm going to write square, like that. Okay? Next trait is cleft chin. So in your packet, you would have to go look for cleft chin. And there it is, cleft chin. What letter will we be using? That's right, A. So it looks like having a cleft chin, if you don't have a cleft chin, that's dominant. But if you do have a cleft chin, that's recessive. A cleft chin is when there's a little crease in the chin like this. Okay, that's a recessive trait. So you would have to have little a to get that. So let's flip for Mom and Dad again. This time we're using the letter A. So, Dad and Mom, 1, 2, 3, flip. Okay, Dad got tails, Mom got heads. Okay, tails is recessive, so that would be a little a. And heads is dominant, so Mom would have a big A. When you put them together, you always write the capital letter first, so that would be big A and little a. So then you look at your booklet, and big A and little a means absent, so that means no cleft chin. So I'm just going to write absent. Okay, skin color is a little more complicated because there are several genes that code for skin color. So go ahead and find in your packet skin color. Okay, here's skin color, and notice each person's going to flip their coins once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And you're going to get different traits each time. Okay, so let's try that. So Dad and Mom. Let's do Dad first. So Dad, he got tails. So if you look at the chart, it says flip your coin first to determine A. The second time you're going to get B. The third time C. The fourth time D. So since we got tails, our first trait will be a small a. Dad has to flip 4 times because it says you're going to flip 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Dad got heads that time. That's a capital B. Heads is dominant. Dad's going to flip again. Tails. So that's a recessive, so a small c. Dad flipped again. He got a small d. Okay, now Mom flips. Mom flips. She gets tails. That's a small a. She got heads. That's a big B. She got heads again. That's a big C. She got tails. That's a little d. Okay. Now, mom and dad are going to come together and make the child. Okay, so I'm going to put the A's together. And then I'm going to put the B's together. And then I'm going to put the C's together. I had a little C and a big C, so I'm going to put both of them. And then 2 little D's. Alright, then it tells you how to figure out the skin color. If you have 8 capital letters, you would have very dark black skin. If you have 1 capital letter, you would have very light tan skin. Or no capital letters, it'd be completely white. You would just have white paper. You wouldn't even color it. Well, how many capital letters do I have? I have 1, 2, 3 capital letters. So 3 capital letters gives me light brown skin. So I would write light brown. Okay, and then you're going to continue doing this for all the traits like hair type and whether or not they have a widow's peak. You're going to do that for all the traits until you're completely finished. After you're finished, you're going to look to see what your face shape is. If you have a square-shaped face, then you will get the square-shaped head like this, and then draw your baby face or your child's face on here. Typically, it works well if you put the eyes under the lines. That's like your eyelid. Okay? So your eyes would be like under here. Okay? If you're not sure where to place the eyes and the nose and everything, then this is a guide. This is found on the back of your chart. You can look at that and you can see that the eyes are basically in the center of the head. Alright? So good luck and draw good faces and make sure when you color them accurately. So if you have a child with dark brown skin, you make sure to press harder on your colored pencils to make sure their skin is dark brown. Alright, good luck.